The sun was barely above the horizon, casting long shadows across the military training ground. The morning air was thick with the smell of dust, sweat, and oil. The soldiers moved quickly, checking equipment and securing the perimeter. The female soldier walked into the chaos with a calm, measured step. Her duffel bag light over her shoulder, but her eyes sharp and alert. She had been here before in different missions, different dangers, and yet this morning felt tense. Even to her. She noticed the whispers, the stifled laughs, the incredulous glances cast her way. Some of the men shook their heads skeptically, a few muttered under their breath, wondering if she could handle what was coming. Her frame was smaller than most, but there was a strength in her posture, in the way she held herself, that spoke of discipline and experience. She ignored the murmurs and focused on the task at hand. Her boots crunched on the gravel and metal scattered across the ground, each step measured as she approached. The assembly area. The soldiers had gathered there, a mix of hardened veterans and rookies, all sizing each other up. The training officer barked orders quickly, moving from one person to the next. The female soldier stood to the side, watching and listening, her mind calculating possibilities, assessing the terrain and the people around her. Some of the men could not hide their doubt. The murmurs grew louder, some joking about her ability to lift a wounded soldier who weighed far more than she did. She clenched her jaw slightly but said nothing, letting the whispers float past her like smoke. She knew that what mattered was not their doubt, but her ability to act when the moment came. The alarm sounded, a harsh, shrill breaking through the morning air. Every head turned toward the source, a loud scream rang out, and a wounded soldier was revealed lying on the ground, struggling to stay conscious. The men froze for a split second, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. Some looked around, helplessly unsure who would act. The female soldier did not hesitate. She took a few quick steps toward the injured man, her eyes scanning the scene quickly, noting debris, unstable ground, and possible hazards. She moved with confidence and precision, her mind assessing weight distribution, leverage, and the safest path to move him quickly. Some soldiers whispered nervously, wondering if she could manage the 400 pounds she would have to lift. Their doubt hung in the air, heavy, like a storm cloud. She bent slightly to assess the soldier, his injuries obvious and his breathing labored. The surrounding soldiers hesitated, the panic in their eyes betraying their uncertainty. He groaned and tried to shift his weight, and she felt the danger of time slipping away, each second vital. She adjusted her stance firmly, planting her boots solidly against the ground, letting her core stabilize, her muscles tense, ready for the task. She glanced around at the skeptical faces and let a small, controlled breath pass through her, knowing that the eyes on her were more a distraction than a threat. She focused only on the wounded soldier, the obstacles in the path, and the next moves she would need to make. The wind shifted, carrying dust and debris into her face. She blinked and ignored it, concentrating on technique, leverage, balance, and positioning. The soldier murmured something in pain, and she spoke softly to calm him. Maintaining his focus and alertness, her hands gripped, his torso carefully calculating every shift in weight, every motion he made. The skeptical soldiers still whispered, but their voices grew quieter, overshadowed by the tension of the moment. The alarm continued in the background, the clang of metal, and distant shouts mixing with the pounding of her own pulse. Her muscles flexed and coiled, ready to lift the soldier. She felt the strain before it began, calculating precisely how much leverage she would need. She glanced quickly to the path she would take, noting debris, obstacles, and unstable ground, each step a decision, a risk. She inhaled slowly, steadying herself, preparing to defy the doubt and disbelief that had surrounded her since she arrived. The soldiers who doubted her took a step, back, their eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and fear, as if they knew what they were witnessing could not be ordinary. She bent lower, her hands gripping firmly, her back straight and legs locked, ready to bear the weight. She took a small breath, and then began the first motion of the lift, feeling the soldier shift under her control. The strain immediate and powerful. Her arms flexed core tight. She adjusted slowly, letting her body mechanics do the work. The soldiers gasped, murmured some, shaking their heads unsure how she could possibly manage this. Her focus was absolute, every fiber of her being engaged. Her eyes forward, noting hazards, every step calculated. Her teeth clenched slightly as she stabilized the soldier, letting him rest on her shoulders in a controlled carry, her legs bending slightly to absorb weight. She began to move slowly toward the safe zone, every step precise, measured, aware that one misstep could be disastrous. The skeptical soldiers followed her with wide eyes, their doubt mingling with awe. Their whispers had ceased, replaced by silent observation. She did not speak, focusing on every detail, every micro-movement, the terrain beneath her boots, the shifting weight of the soldier on her back, and the path to safety. The alarm blared. The wind shifted again, carrying dust and the faint smell of smoke from distant fires. The tension was thick, the seconds stretching long. Her muscles burned, her focus absolute, as she carried the soldier steady and strong. The other soldiers remained frozen, unsure if they should assist or watch in disbelief. The female soldier adjusted her grip slightly, repositioning the soldier for balance, and continued forward, step by step, the safe zone inching closer. With each motion, she could hear faint murmurs of awe behind her, but ignored them, keeping focus entirely on the task ahead. The path was fraught with hazards, debris scattered, and unstable surfaces threatening to trip or topple them. She tightened. Her core flexed her legs and continued moving slowly but steadily. The soldier groaned again in pain, and she murmured a few words to keep him conscious and alert. Her heart pounded in rhythm with her steps. She felt the strain, the weight, but also the power of training focus and will. She knew the next moments would test every skill, every ounce of strength and endurance she had. She glanced quickly ahead, noting another obstacle. The suspense tightened her chest, and the soldiers watching held, their breath waiting to see if she could succeed. The female soldier adjusted her stance slightly, shifting her weight to maintain balance under the heavy load of the wounded man. She felt the strain in her arms and legs, her muscles screaming, yet her focus never wavered. Her eyes scanned the path ahead, noting every piece of debris and every uneven patch of ground that could send them both crashing to the ground. Around her, the other soldiers froze, their skepticism replaced by wide-eyed shock and disbelief as they watched her carry the 400-pound soldier with steady precision. Her teeth clenched as she took a careful step forward, each movement deliberate, controlled, calculating the physics of leverage, weight, and balance. In real time, the injured man groaned softly, murmuring words of pain. She murmured reassurances, keeping his mind focused, calm, and alert. Her boots crunched against gravel and scattered metal, each step sending vibrations up through her legs and core. The wind carried the distant sounds of alarms and shouts from across the training ground, mixing with the clanging of equipment and the muted explosions that had erupted earlier. The female soldier ignored everything except the immediate task, her mind clear, her body attuned to the rhythm of motion and balance. She could feel the soldier shift slightly on her back, adjusting her grip subtly to compensate the strain intensifying with every second. She took a shallow breath, letting it flow through her chest and out her lungs, maintaining control over the surge of adrenaline that threatened to destabilize her focus. Behind her, the whispers of disbelief had died down, replaced by stunned silence. The skeptical soldiers could not look. Away, some muttering under their breath, unable to comprehend how she could bear such weight and remain steady. She glanced briefly at their faces, noticing the mix of awe, fear, and disbelief, but immediately returned her gaze to the path ahead. The ground was uneven debris, scattered, a small crater to the left, and a patch of mud to the right. She calculated each step, carefully placing her boots firmly as she continued to move forward inch by inch. The wounded soldier shifted, groaning again. She murmured a few words, letting him know he was safe as long as he stayed still. Her arms flexed, core locked, every muscle engaged as she bore the full weight across her shoulders. The air was thick with dust and sweat and the faint metallic smell of blood and oil. The alarm continued blaring, the clatter of distant equipment and shouts growing closer as reinforcements rushed to assist, but she did not allow her focus to waver. Not far ahead, a large piece of debris blocked the path. A fallen beam twisted on the ground, threatening to trip anyone who stepped incorrectly. She adjusted her grip, shifted her stance slightly, and carefully navigated around it, her legs straining her back, locked in perfect alignment. The soldiers watching were speechless, their doubts evaporating, replaced by awe and a hint of fear. The female soldier moved like a machine, every step calculated, controlled, deliberate. Her mind was a calm center in the storm of chaos around her. She could feel the soldiers. Weight pressing against her shoulders, the strain on her muscles intense yet manageable through technique, focus, and mental control. Another shout rang out to her left, indicating danger from incoming debris. She adjusted her path slightly leaning forward, using her legs to absorb shock. Her arms flexed, stabilizing the soldier as she moved steadily forward. The injured man groaned again. She whispered softly, telling him to stay still, every word deliberate, measured to maintain his consciousness and focus. Behind her, the soldiers began to stir, a few taking cautious steps forward, unsure if they should assist or simply continue watching. They had underestimated her strength and skill, and now they were forced to witness the impossible. She took a careful glance at the nearest hazard, a small pile of rubble that could shift under weight. Her boots stepped lightly over it, yet firmly maintaining balance. The air was thick, heavy with tension. The wind shifting, carrying, the sounds of distant alarms, explosions, and human voices. The female soldier could feel her muscles burning, but her focus remained absolute, every motion precise, calculated, and steady. Another soldier called out, warning of a new hazard ahead, a large patch of unstable ground. Her eyes flicked to it, quickly, adjusting stance and speed, calculating every motion to maintain balance and protect the wounded man. The soldiers watching whispered among themselves, astonished at her skill, courage, and determination, unable to believe how she carried the weight with control and poise. She adjusted her grip slightly, repositioning the soldier for optimal balance, and continued forward, inching toward safety. The clock seemed to stretch seconds, elongating as every step tested her strength, endurance, and focus. The injured man shifted, groaning again. She spoke softly, telling him to stay with her and remain calm. Her words barely audible over the alarms and chaos. Her muscles screamed, every fiber of her being engaged, yet her determination unwavering. She could feel the sweat running down her back, the strain in her shoulders and legs, yet her mind remained sharp and focused, calculating every movement, avoiding hazards and obstacles. The soldiers surrounding the scene could not tear their eyes away. They watched in awe as she carried the massive wounded man inch by inch with steady precision and unwavering courage. A faint tremor in the ground signaled danger, another piece of debris shifting. She adjusted, stance carefully absorbing the shock, and continued moving forward, her body a perfect machine of strength and technique. The tension thickened each second, stretching longer as every motion became a battle against gravity and chaos. The female soldier pressed on, aware that any misstep could be catastrophic, yet her focus absolute. She whispered reassurances to the soldier above her, reminding him to stay calm and still. Her boots crunched against gravel and scattered debris, inching closer to safety. The skeptical soldiers had gone silent, their previous doubts evaporating, replaced by awe and disbelief. The female soldier moved steadily forward. Each motion calculated her body tense, yet controlled every step, bringing them closer to safety. Yet, the threat was not gone, and the next obstacle loomed large ahead, ready to test every ounce of her strength and skill. The female soldier felt the weight of the wounded man pressing heavily against her shoulders, her muscles burning with strain yet, her mind sharp and focused as she navigated the treacherous terrain ahead. The ground was uneven, scattered with debris and small craters from previous explosions. Each step required precise calculation and balance. Her boots sank slightly into loose, gravel and mud forcing micro-adjustments in her stance and grip. The injured soldier groaned faintly, murmuring words of pain. She spoke softly to him, keeping his mind alert and his body steady. Every sound around them, from distant alarms, shouts, and clanging metal, was filtered out by her concentration. She was acutely aware of the skeptical soldiers behind her who had watched in awe as she began the rescue. Their previous disbelief had transformed into tense admiration, some openly staring, while others whispered quietly to one another, wondering if what they were witnessing was humanly possible. She adjusted her hold, repositioning the man slightly to distribute weight more effectively. Her legs flexed and core tightened, absorbing the shifting balance as she continued forward. Her eyes scanned the path ahead, noting fallen beams, loose rocks, and small craters that could throw her off. She took a shallow breath and let it out slowly, maintaining control of her body and mind. The sun reflected off metal debris, blinding her momentarily, and she blinked, focusing again as she carefully stepped over a jagged piece of rubble. The soldier she carried shifted slightly, groaning, and she murmured a few words of reassurance, keeping him conscious and calm. Her arms burned, her back ached, yet she moved with unwavering precision, each motion deliberate, calculated, and controlled. The ground trembled slightly, another distant explosion signaling the instability of the environment. Her senses heightened. She could feel every vibration under her boots, every shift in weight from the wounded man. Every movement was a battle against physics and fatigue, and yet she pressed on, inching closer to safety. The skeptical soldiers behind her began to stir, some moving cautiously to follow her example, while others remained frozen in disbelief. Her focus did not waver. She ignored all distraction, concentrating solely on the path, the obstacles, and the balance required to carry the massive load safely. The injured soldier murmured again, and she responded softly, keeping him steady, every word measured, every tone deliberate. Her feet slipped slightly on a patch of loose gravel, and she flexed her knees, adjusting her center of gravity, instantly preventing a fall. The soldiers watching gasped and whispered, unable to believe the agility and strength she displayed. She continued forward each step, deliberate, navigating the hazardous terrain with precision. The wind shifted, carrying dust and debris into her face, yet she ignored it, keeping her gaze fixed on the safe zone ahead. She adjusted her grip once more, the strain on her arms intensifying, but her technique flawless, her movements smooth and controlled. The ground ahead was treacherous. A collapsed section with exposed rebar and mud threatened to topple her and the soldier she carried. She paused briefly, calculating the safest way to traverse it. Her mind raced through angles, weight distribution, and leverage. She inhaled slowly and stepped forward, testing the ground carefully, then shifted her weight dynamically, adjusting every motion in real time. The injured man groaned faintly, and she murmured encouraging words, urging him to stay still and trust. Her muscles burned, every fiber screaming, yet her focus absolute. Her boots slid slightly on wet mud, and she adjusted, flexing her legs, absorbing the movement and continuing forward inch by inch. The soldiers behind her watched silently there, Eyes wide with awe and disbelief, they whispered softly among themselves, noting every calculated movement, every adjustment, every display of skill and courage. The female soldier moved steadily across the collapsed ground, carefully maneuvering around exposed rebar and unstable debris. She adjusted the injured man, slightly shifting weight to maintain balance, and continued inching forward, step by step. Each motion a test of strength, endurance, and nerve. The wind howled, carrying dust and metallic scents as alarms continued blaring in the distance. The injured man groaned, and she responded softly, keeping his focus calm. Her arms trembled slightly, but she maintained control, her core locked and legs strong. The skeptical soldiers had stopped, whispering completely, now fully absorbed by her actions. Their disbelief had turned to quiet astonishment and the faintest hint of respect. She continued forward. Each step precise, calculated, the tension, thick every second, stretching longer, the safe zone drawing nearer. Yet the ground ahead remained unpredictable, treacherous, and dangerous. Her eyes flicked quickly to the next hazard, a large piece of debris precariously balanced, threatening to collapse. She adjusted her stance slightly, bracing her core, flexing her legs, and stepped forward, carefully absorbing shock and maintaining balance. The soldier shifted slightly, and she murmured words of reassurance, the strain in her body intensifying, yet her mind clear and unwavering. The soldiers behind her continued to watch in stunned silence, noting her incredible skill, strength, and courage, unable to tear their eyes away. She moved steadily, inching closer to safety, each step a testament to training, focus, and determination. The ground shook slightly, another distant explosion signaling new hazards nearby. She adjusted grip, stance, and motion, carefully navigating the treacherous terrain with absolute control, her breathing steady despite the strain, her mind calculating every movement. The injured man groaned faintly again, and she spoke softly, keeping him conscious and calm. Every step forward was a triumph against weight fatigue and danger. The soldiers watching whispered softly among themselves, realizing fully that she had surpassed all expectations, defied every doubt, and was performing an extraordinary feat. The female soldier continued forward inch by inch, navigating debris, mud, and unstable ground, her every motion deliberate, controlled, and precise, aware that the most dangerous part of the path was still ahead, yet refusing to let doubt, hesitation, or fear enter her mind or affect her resolve. The tension was thick, each second stretching longer, every movement a test of strength, balance, and courage, leaving the soldiers watching in awe as she carried the 400-pound wounded man closer to safety. The female soldier pressed forward, her muscles straining under the immense weight of the wounded man, every step a test of endurance and focus. She could feel the soldier shift slightly on her back, and she adjusted instantly, maintaining perfect balance. Her arms burned, her legs quivered, yet her mind remained sharp, every thought dedicated to the path ahead and the safety of the man she carried. The terrain grew more treacherous, debris scattered across the ground, twisted metal jutting upward, mud and gravel threatening to give way under her boots. Each step required calculated precision, every motion deliberate, controlled, and steady. The injured man groaned softly, murmuring words of pain and panic, and she whispered reassurance, keeping his mind focused and his body still. The air was thick with dust, sweat, and the faint metallic scent of blood and oil. The distant alarms clanged, the shouts of soldiers echoed through the training ground, and explosions reverberated in the distance. Yet she filtered everything out. Her mind focused entirely on navigation, balance, and technique. Every step forward was a calculation, every movement measured. She adjusted her grip, repositioning the soldier slightly to distribute weight more evenly across her shoulders, her back flexed, core tight, her legs locked in position, absorbing every shift in balance. The skeptical soldiers behind her watched in silence, their previous whispers of doubt vanished, replaced by awe, disbelief, and a hint of fear. They had underestimated her strength and skill, and now were forced to witness the impossible unfold before their eyes. A large patch of mud loomed ahead, dark, slick, and uneven, threatening to topple her and the soldier on her back. She assessed the ground, carefully measuring foot placement, weight distribution, and trajectory. She stepped forward, cautiously, her boots sinking slightly into the mud, her core engaged, stabilizing her movements. Every muscle screamed, yet she pressed on inch by inch. The soldier groaned again, and she murmured softly, keeping him conscious, alert, and calm. Behind her, the observers shifted uneasily, unsure whether to approach or stay back. She ignored them, focusing entirely on the task at hand. The path narrowed further, twisted metal and fallen debris, creating a hazardous corridor. She adjusted her grip stance and motion, carefully negotiating the obstacles. The soldier shifted slightly, and she countered instantly, flexing muscles, adjusting stance, maintaining perfect balance. The wind carried dust and debris into her face, but she blinked and continued, forward eyes fixed on the small stretch of safe ground just beyond the hazards. The soldiers watching could not tear their eyes away, each motion a combination of strength, precision, and absolute control. They whispered softly, noting every adjustment, every flex, every step she took. Her body moved with mechanical precision, yet controlled grace muscles, coiled and releasing in perfect synchronization. Her breathing steady despite the strain, her mind focused entirely on safety and technique. She stepped over a twisted piece of metal, careful to avoid snagging the wounded soldier, her boots sliding slightly on gravel. She adjusted her center of gravity, immediately absorbing the shift. The path ahead grew even more dangerous. A small embankment of loose rocks and dirt threatened to give way. She paused briefly, assessing the weight distribution, the angle of the slope the footing required, and then stepped forward carefully, each motion deliberate and calculated. The soldier groaned faintly, and she whispered reassurances, keeping him calm, alert, and responsive. Her arms trembled slightly, yet her grip remained firm and secure. Every movement was a battle against gravity, fatigue, and danger. The soldiers behind her exchanged glances, some stepping forward cautiously to provide backup should she falter, others frozen in awe and disbelief. She adjusted stance, slightly shifted weight, and continued forward. The strain, immense, yet control absolute. The air was thick with tension, every second stretching long as each step tested strength, endurance, and nerve. The female soldier pressed on, inching closer to the embankment, careful navigating unstable ground, mud debris, and twisted metal. Each motion measured, each adjustment precise. The soldier on her back shifted slightly, and she murmured softly, repositioning him, keeping balance and stability intact. The ground trembled slightly, another distant explosion signaling new danger. She flexed her legs, core engaged, absorbing shock, adjusting every micro-movement to maintain control. The skeptical soldiers had stopped whispering completely. Now, fully captivated by her courage, skill, and determination, they watched in stunned silence as she carried the 400-pound wounded man inch by inch, inching toward the small patch of safe ground visible just ahead. Her muscles burned, her arms, legs, and back, straining under the weight, yet her focus absolute. She adjusted grip, slightly shifted stance, and moved forward carefully, calculating every step, every micro-adjustment to navigate the final stretch safely. The soldier groaned faintly again, and she whispered softly, telling him to stay calm, keep focus every motion, deliberate, measured, and precise. The wind carried dust, debris, and distant alarms, yet she remained centered, every fiber engaged, every thought dedicated to safety and success. Behind her, the observers watched in awe, their disbelief completely erased, replaced by astonishment and respect. She took a careful breath and stepped forward once more. Each motion precise calculated her body, a perfect combination of strength, skill, and discipline, inching closer to the safe zone. Her focus unwavering, the tension thick, leaving everyone watching in suspended anticipation, knowing that the final steps could determine success or disaster. The female soldier pressed forward, each step deliberate, controlled, and precise, her muscles screaming under the immense weight of the wounded man. Yet her focus absolute. Every motion, a battle against fatigue, gravity, and unstable terrain. Her boots sank slightly into gravel and mud, her core locked her back, flexed, and arms straining. She adjusted the injured man, carefully shifting his weight slightly to maintain balance. His groans were faint but constant, and she murmured words of reassurance, keeping him alert, calm, and conscious. Behind her, the soldiers watched in stunned silence, their previous whispers of doubt replaced by wide-eyed astonishment. Some stepped cautiously forward, ready to assist if needed, yet unsure how to react. Witnessing what they had once thought impossible, the path narrowed again. Debris twisted metal, and small craters threatened to topple her. She calculated each step, every micro-adjustment, the angle of her body, the placement of her boots, and the distribution of weight across her shoulders. The soldier on her back shifted slightly, and she countered instantly, flexing legs, tightening core, and adjusting grip. Her arms burned, her legs quivered, yet her mind remained sharp and focused. The safe zone came into view, a small patch of flat ground where medics waited, their eyes wide as they watched her approach. Each step forward drew her closer to safety, yet the tension thickened. Knowing one misstep could undo everything. She adjusted stance, slightly leaning forward, keeping balance, her boots gripping the uneven ground. Every second stretched longer. Each motion a careful negotiation of physics, strength, and endurance. The injured soldier groaned, and she murmured softly, telling him to stay calm, keep focus, remain still. Her breathing controlled despite the strain. The pounding of her heart steadied her mind entirely in the present. Behind her, the soldiers were silent, fully captivated by her strength, skill, and determination. Their doubts evaporated, replaced by admiration and respect. She approached the final obstacle, a mound of debris, jagged and unstable. Her eyes flicked to it quickly, calculating angle, leverage, and placement. Her legs flexed, core engaged, arms firm, and she moved carefully over it step by step. The injured man shifted slightly, and she murmured reassurance, flexing every muscle, absorbing every shift. Finally, the edge of the safe zone was beneath. Her boots. She quickened slightly, careful not to lose control. The medics reached forward, ready to assist, but she signaled she had it, her gaze fixed on the waiting hands and flat ground ahead. Every ounce of strength and skill focused on these final moments. She lowered the wounded man slowly, carefully into the hands of the medics, knees buckling slightly, relief flooding her body. The medics took over immediately, checking vitals, securing him, and preparing to move him to safety. The soldiers around her broke the silence, finally murmuring words of awe, admiration, and respect. She straightened her back, took a deep, steadying breath, surveying the ground she had crossed, her body. Tense muscles still burning, yet mind sharp, her eyes flicked back toward the debris, chaos, and hazards she had navigated, and a faint smile of quiet satisfaction touched her lips, knowing she had proven her strength, courage, and determination beyond any doubt. Yet even as the medics worked and the soldiers watched in awe, the distant alarms and shouts reminded her that danger never truly ended, and somewhere beyond the horizon, another challenge awaited her, ready to test her resolve once more.